Hello, everyone. We are so pleased to have today at our Sacchigraphy Masterclass Pablo Salvioni Alomar, which is how can I say that? Yeah, now that I know you, I didn't know you before. I'm joking, everyone, because Pablo Salvioni Alomar is our importer, distributor of our Tanaka 1709 X Chartier sake project in Spain and Portugal, and also our distributor in Europe. So, and we are getting very friend, a lot of complicity and everything we are doing around the sake world. But Pablo is in the industry of sake, for the one who don't know, since over than 12 years, as a 12 or 13 years, huh, Pablo?
Yeah, already. Yeah, it's crazy.
Time goes fast. So Pablo's in Madrid, and he's the #1 expert on sake in Spain and this part of Europe, and also #1 importer of sake, the best sake, not only yours but ours, but many sake before us. So thank you so much to accept to come talk today about sake. First, Pablo.
Yeah, my pleasure. It's very nice to be here.
We're going to do that in English today because I don't know why, but we decided to do it in English. And Nicolas is with us, Nicolas Rocher, who is our collaborator at Chartier World Lab, especially at the project of sake. So since the day one, Nicolas, as people know, is working with us on all the steps to make it happen, those world-class sake, craft for wine lover, blended for wine lover. So Nicolas, thank you to be there.
Thank you so much. Always a great pleasure to share. And the subject today is quite amazing and important. So really glad to be part of it.
I will let you say the subject, Nicolas, because if I remember, you're the one who suggests this subject to talk with Pablo. So maybe you can introduce the theme of today.
Yes, absolutely. The subject today is the impact of the pandemic on the sake world. The idea came after talking with Pablo about, wow, what's happening? You know, so many stuff happening before the pandemic. How was the sake situation and what's happening during and what's going to be the next? I think this pandemic is like really a break or something really important happening. So always good to make a resume and how we adapt to this pandemic. And Pablo, you are the sake person in Spain, so to get all your perspective and on this point is going to be amazing, no?
Yeah.
No, so go ahead, Pablo.
I think it's this is interesting to see how things have changed and how we were thinking that things will go and all that at this point, because I was remembering a year ago we were with a lot of hopes that after the summer everything will be over and all that, you know. In Japan, the people, they were more confident than us. They were, you know, this is at the end it wasn't that bad. Of course, in Europe was terrible. For us was shocking because it was the first time that we were thinking, wow, this is real and we are not selling anything. We are in a big mess because our customers are mainly restaurants and they are closing down. What are we going to do? So, you know, it was something that at the beginning we were seeing with a lot of in a kind of pessimistic way, you know, because we thought it could be the end of our company, you know. So
absolutely,
yeah. And but then some crazy people like you guys came to me at that time saying, hey, we have a sake, you know. And I was like, what the hell? These people talking about they have a sake and we are in this mess. What shall I do? But of course, I think I'm always positive. I think you guys too.
Yes.
And somehow, you know, we were in a terrible situation, but we came up with something and to keep going. And now, of course, we see the light. I think we are at the end of the tunnel. You know, the situation will be much better. There are some difference, I think, depending on where you live the pandemic, even though we are talking about Spain, but in Spain was different, I think, living in Madrid than living in Barcelona.
Mhm.
In Europe, everyone had a different experience. And outside, I mean, in Japan also, they had another completely different story now. So I think, yeah, now we can talk with some perspective, and
Yeah.
we hope that from now on, finally, we are out of this mess, and we're gonna jump into the future with high expectations.
Usually, to understand the future, we need to understand the present, and the present usually is built on the past.
Uh-huh.
You know, this kind of Buddhism way of seeing life, and could be interesting as you own sake business, as your own company importing sake, to talk a little bit before. Let's forget a little bit what's happening now, what is your
Yeah.
future, what
Yeah.
happened during the COVID, but before COVID arrived, so let's say before 1st March 2020,
Mhm.
what was your expectation? How sake business was going, and what, if you remember,
Yeah.
how did you see the future of sake at this time?
Yeah. So since the beginning, since when we started, every year we were increasing the sales, you know. So we were like every year like plus 30-40%. But you know, this year, especially at the beginning, or sorry, last year,
Yeah.
2020, at the beginning, we were, I don't know, there were some voices and some kind of negative things, even though before the pandemic, you know, there were some kind of crisis on the air. And in fact, the January, which it was a normal month for us in terms of non-COVID situation, there was a slightly drop of sales. So I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know what's going on at that time, but I think many people were fearing in Spain that we were having a kind of crisis. Then, of course, February was normal, you know, but then March is when everything started. Having said that, of course, we were expecting that 2020 would be a good year, or at least same as 2019. We were coming from a lot of new products, we had in mind to import new sakes, which finally we did after 1 year. So we just received a container with this new stuff. And also it was a very important year to do a lot of trips and meetings and try to teach about sake as we do all the time. So it was a year that we thought it was going to be a bit harder than 19, but then everything happened and it was worse. But you know, maybe it's, if you want to see it with perspective, maybe it's better to have like a big bad thing in one go than not going down, and then you don't know. So
Yes,
that was the
struggling,
feeling.
and
Yeah.
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 So if there were a lot of creativity in the sake process, a new kind of sake, because now we see a lot of creativity in sake, even if we will talk about it later, even if the sake brewery, sake market in Japan and abroad is not easy, especially in Japan, there's a lot of creativity, and it's always happened when it's difficult time. People need to be more creative than ever if they want to survive. They need to adapt. They need some resilience to still alive and grow if they want to grow. So if before COVID you were feeling that there was a lot of creativity starting already in sake world.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of creativity. There was a lot of people doing interesting things, but as you might understand, in a Japanese way for sake. So, you know,
Yes.
there is this creativity, this thing, but you never get to know what's going on really, because it's, you know, they have a feeling that sometimes is maybe blending some ideas from the wine world, and then they have some ideas from liqueurs, and they blend them together. but there is, or there was always the lack of explanation, you know. The Japanese, sometimes they are not very clear. They want to do something, but it looks cool what they do, but you don't know what they are doing, you know.
So it's about communication, marketing,
Yes,
setting their
yes,
own ideas.
yes, yes.
That's funny. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
To take the positive way about this situation, I think is that creativity, all that stuff, of course, was there and is coming out now, but now they have a different point of view, and that's some of the positive things about this mess. I think is that finally most of the people involved in selling sake from Japan, they finally understood that without communication, without marketing, without doing some events, it is not going to happen anything, you know. So I think
So,
at some point something happened, and
yeah.
I don't know if you remember, you came to our show for the sake talks we started. I was trying very hard to get Japanese people into this kind of friendly way to communicate and all that, and it's very hard. And it's not only because of the language, because some of them they can speak perfect English, but you know they are a bit scared of putting themselves into an audience, a foreign audience or something like that. And they were very like, no, we prefer not to do it. But the weeks were like passing by, and at the end we got a couple of them that they were really hard to talk with, like the Dasai CEO, the president, sorry. And it was very, very hard, but they realized that they need to do something. And I think it's something that now, especially in the last month, I see that they do by their own. I mean, Masumi is doing a lot of show talking about the food pairing and things like that. So I think in a way they open up a little bit, and it was a positive thing, you know.
Yeah, I think that that's the positive side of COVID. Let's say that everyone went online to try to reach the abroad market or in sake business as in wine or spirit or in food business. Yeah. So maybe in that sense, the people in Japan, I say maybe, they have seen what's happening in the world, and there's so many of those master classes for free, people giving real master classes with a lot of information, sharing idea, also a lot of mesa redonda, how we say that, table ronde, how we say that in English, mesa redonda.
Round table.
Yeah, round table. Yeah, that's it. As it is. Huh? You know, we can draft round table. So you see, I'm starting thinking in Spanish. That's good, huh?
Good.
Huh? Poc a poc. Poc a poc. There's a little bit of Catalan also. Poc a poc. But yes. Absolutely. So they have, maybe they've been influenced so much by that, and they decide to adapt. Again, we're going back to adaptation. You adapt or you die, in a sense of losing your market. So,
that's for sure. And also they has been terrible for them. You know, many breweries, I think they are closing down. Another terrible thing that maybe many people don't think about is that you have to secure the rice to produce sake. And they bought a lot of rice thinking that they're going to use it, of course, and then they had to stop the production. And there is a lot of rice there in some fridges that it will affect the sake production in the following years. It's not something that, okay, we start again. And
in fact, it's a very complicated market, the rice market, because what I understand now, by buying rice with Tanaka or Shuso for the project of Tanaka X Chartier, we have to order the rice 3 years before by contract, firm contract. So you are stuck for each 3 years. You cannot change it. No, okay, next year we want to change. No. So you're stuck with that. So now they have done a little bit the government and the people in the rice field, they have done a little bit exception, but that was very small because of COVID. So very complicated. You want to add something, Nicolas, on that?
No, absolutely. It was about the flexibility, you know, adaptability. As you say, it's arrived in March. We're going to say around, and everything is planned. You are just closing your brewery year. We're going to say end of April, but you already planned the next one, and we faced this problem. It was like, okay, what are we doing? We already buy everything. We already get the planned sale. What we're gonna do? So now we need to rethink maybe our sake, rethink what we're gonna do. Sake we can maybe age better because we know it's gonna be hard to sell for a while. So maybe I'm just thinking about like all the kura making daiginjo, ginjo really subtle, but not for aging or nigori, all of this stuff. Maybe more fresh at the moment. It should be really hard. In our case, it was a luck because in our case, because our sake aged more. It stayed in tongue for more time. We must do it because we cannot own the option. But at this moment, we discover our sake can age. Tanaka 1789 in Chartier Blend 001 can age very well. And that's, as you say before, Pablo, an opportunity, a small light inside the shadow. And that's what we learned in our side. And that was interesting.
No, for sure. It's so these things we will start to see these changes, sometimes forced by the situation, but I think it will open up a little bit the strict rules of sake that sometimes they are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when I started, there were some breweries that they say, no, the sake you are selling in Spain has to be from a fresh production, but you can only keep it for 3-4 months. I was like, what? How can I, if one container coming to Spain takes more than 1 month, how can I? Yeah, but it's very important. Of course, I know it's very important to have the freshness and all that, but then you can find a way to keep things in a better way. So like reefer container, keep it in a warehouse where everything is below 0 or around 0. You have to transform yourself because otherwise it's crazy. And
this
now
it's a very important point because most of the sake over the time, everyone always said that sake don't age and need to be drunk the year they are sold on the market. And that was a philosophy, of taste or Japan people first. Not only linked to the quality that is disappearing after 1 year or 6 months. It is not totally linked to that, I think.
No.
Yeah. So when you look at some Junai, even some Daiginjo, but mostly the Junai sake, they have the possibility to age some of them very well, very interesting. So now this will have an impact on the taste of the young consumer, of the new consumer, because there will be some sake on the market a little bit older than normally.
Yeah.
So this is very interesting fact and a philosophic way and a cultural way of say. I will do a parallel with natural wine. Natural wine is since years changing the taste of the young consumer. Not only the young, but a lot of young consumer today are learning wine with natural wine. They are learning to taste with wine sometimes in an oenological point of view with some defect. And they think, but they like that so much that that's the way they learn quality. New, and I don't judge. I just say it's completely different, opposite to the oenological side of knowing the product and analyzing a product that could be clean and perfect with complexity and all of that with signature, but clean. And then you get those products, natural wine arise on the market with completely different ways. So people are learning with that today. So some young generation, and not only young now, maybe with times they will learn about sake that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years and bottle before tasting.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely. It's that's why I think it's very interesting now, because we will see a lot of these things coming up, and a lot of experiments, I think, because people will try, or they will try to do sake with the rice that is left there, and maybe something, I don't know, maybe you know better than me, Francois, but I think they can keep maybe 1 year at maximum or something in a kind of,
Yeah,
but maybe if we will talk about aged rice for making sake or something like
eh,
that, there was,
hey, I like that. This is great. Maybe it will be bad, but very interesting. Is give new option that nobody ever take the risk of doing it before, because there was so much regulation. So the philosophy was Japanese philosophy, looking for purity. Purity need clean things, young thing, fresh thing, as tasting as the making process. So now it's like, and there was already, I think you can talk a little bit about that. There was already a kind of a mood or fashion. I don't know fashion, but kind of natural sake, like natural wine, So young generation trying many different new things in sake business before COVID.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think there was this trend to
yeah,
maybe
true.
to become more natural, but maybe seeing into their own culture in the old days of making sake. So this kind of approach, I seen it many times, and many already established brands, they were trying to experiment with ways of making sake differently. Also, for instance, the brewery, very well-known brewery like Masumi, they changed the philosophy in the last year. Well, they started maybe 2 years ago, but they were using, or it was discovered, the yeast number 7, the more widely used in Japan. It was discovered in Masumi, and
Yeah.
when I visit them many times, I was always asking, why you make only few products with your own yeast? And they were say, yeah, but we want, and it was something funny, and now they decided that the new brand, the rebrand, because they changed the labels and they make something modern but very easy to understand with colors and all that, but they use all is like a terroir kind of philosophy, because they want to have everything from their own area. And I think this is something that you can see many breweries. Tedorigawa also has this kind of approach to use only rice from the area. It's not anymore like you buy the rice from another prefecture because it's better or whatever. So I think there is this kind of movement, and also something that we have been talking a lot. Try to get this acidity like the wines, So
Yes.
this is something that also was very indeed present in the new generation, or the new trend for sake. So
Yeah, and not always efficient, or not always, like I said, it's great to get acidity like wine, but we need to keep the soul of sake. That's what we are trying to do at Tanaka 1789 in Chartier, is change the process at 9 different steps but naturally, to get naturally a little bit more acidity, but when you smell, when you taste, it is sake. This is not wine.
yeah,
If we want to make sake, if we want to make wine with rice, why? We should make wine with grapes,
no, that's for sure. That is, they have to keep that. It's not only acidity, because acidity, then
No.
you eat a lemon, no?
Yeah, exactly. We think I think you think the same. It's not only that, but one of the future of the sake business grow before COVID, and now maybe more than ever, was the wine consumer.
Yeah.
Because wine consumer looking for new experience, new storytelling, as any kind of product in the world. Even when you buy a phone or a car, you're looking for an experience. It's not the experience of buying. It's the experience of living a new experience and having a storytelling. So I think in the sake world, there's a huge market of wine aficionados and sommelier and restaurant with wine list, not only with sake list. So you see that. I think you are part of that, because over the year you sell sake in Spain. It's like selling a refrigerator in north of Canada. They don't need refrigerator, the Eskimo. So so you were that kind of crazy guy trying to sell sake in Spain 12 years ago. But today you made it. There's a very good market and still growing every year. And we go in restaurant. We are eating in restaurant often before COVID. Now we're going back slowly, and not only in Japanese restaurant. So that's quite interesting.
No, and you know, recently, and you came to the Madrid Fusion. We did a couple of talks, and for the first time, I think in my life, I wasn't talking about the difference between ginjo, daiginjo, all these things. We didn't need to do it because people already kind of understand that. And they are more interested into knowing the flavors and the difference more than the theory, you know, because at the end of the day, comes somebody like you with your sake, which is a completely in terms of Japanese order, is a disorder, in the sense that you put Yamaha, Kimoto together, different rice, different yeast, you know. This is so following the system of explaining everything sometimes it's I wouldn't say boring, but you know, it's too well shaped. And people, especially outside Japan, they need to be more open, and they just need to experiment, because otherwise they think sake, and it's something that I always mention, sake is not only one drink, could be many things, you know. You don't have to keep in mind, oh, sake is a water-like color drink that is supposed to be drinking cold. No, you can have many different kind of sakes, and this is important that people realize, because for the sommelier or for the final consumer, you have to put this idea of sake being something like wine, in terms of you can have red wine, white wine, sparkling wine. In sake, you can even have much more like a difference from one to the other. And I think this is something that finally I see that people is more interested into that than not about the classical way of explaining what sake is, you know.
I like that, because this is I think what you just said is about the consumer of sake today. They are at the second level already. You know, it's like a little bit in the early 90s, the wine consumer in North America were at the first level, learning with the grapes variety. This is a Cabernet Sauvignon, this is a Merlot. You know, the USA, Californian market have play a huge role, and with a game changer, without selling from the origin, terroir, and all that. And I was against that. I remember when I was younger, at the end of the 80s, no, I don't want to drink Pinot Noir. I want to drink a Nuit Saint-Georges, des Cailleret, or Nuit Saint-Georges, des Peugeot, you know. So, but no, they have done great. And then South America, Chile, Argentina, take the leads rapidly with all those great variety wine. But that has bring the consumer to understand about wine, and now they are asking wine with the origin. They don't drink anymore Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot. They are looking for the origin, for the terroir, for the what you said about the flavor, the style, the story, the experience, and the how to serve and the food matching. That's what they want to know about it. And sake is there now. That maybe sake is where the wine was at the early 90s. Sake is there now.
Yeah,
I think.
If I can jump really quickly, because we get a cool question just about sommelier. You need to know, like, there is best sommelier in France last month, and in the finals they put a sake nigori to serve. That's because there is an association with Japanese sake. But now in the sommelier world, if you don't get sake and you don't know about sake, it's impossible for you to win an exam best sommelier of the world or whatsoever. Sake is like key in sommelier world. There is an interesting question, and that's a question since a long time we are talking about, and you are here, Pablo. It's now we got some big change in the category of sake and the way of seeing. So what do you think? We know like the classic category, Ginjo, Daiginjo, Junmai, Onjoso, it's from the 19th, more or less 91, the classification. So do you think there is a change coming, a new normal way to communicate sake? They're going to revise this? We heard some stuff, but
Yeah.
what do you think?
I think it will take time, but I think it will be like Francois mentioned. I think it will become like the wine. You know, at the beginning, everybody started to talk about the grapes and all that. In the sake, now we are in a press step. We are talking about Ginjo, Daiginjo, all that. But then probably, as you know, there are now already 7 prefectures that not prefecture, 7 DOs about sake. So I think they are going into that way of terroir and like regionality or something like that. I think that's something that I see that it will take time, but at some point it will be like that, more than Ginjo, Daiginjo, that, because you know you can give you many examples of sakes that normally, if we follow that kind of pyramid, there are many daiginjo that they don't taste like a daiginjo in the term that the typical daiginjo should be aromatic and apple, pineapple, whatever. And on the other side, you find some junmai or sakes that are not much polished, that are really aromatic. So, you know, it's, and to me, you know, I tasted, I'm looking like a crazy for this sake that I want to buy, to import, which is a sake that cold, it would taste like just not so good junmai, nothing interesting about it, but warm, it became like a muscat. So it was amazing, you know, a warm sake at 50 degrees, and it was tasting like flowers, you know, it was amazing. So this is something that really strikes me, and I think people they are now much more open than before, and I see every day. This last week I had 2 dinners in friend house that we invited some chefs, and some people, because I met in a couple of months ago and all that, they tasted sake maybe 1 month ago, and they were like, I don't like sake, but you know, okay, I tried. And nothing happened. And then last week I brought sake again, and they were like, you know, now I start really to like sake. Now it's really nice, and I can't believe it. I'm getting addict to sake. So I think it's interesting in that sense, that, you know, the people are getting more used to sake, and you see sake more often everywhere. So I think in that sense it's positive.
Yeah, and the communication is not strong, you know. People are learning by themselves, website learning, because wine, I want to say, it's more international. It was easier to push. But sake, it's so many work, restaurant work, curiosity, Japanese food and Japanese culture help a lot, of course. It's a kind of amazing ambassador of sake. But I always surprised now to cross some friends, as you say, oh, sake, yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
2 years ago, or even you know so much better, 10 years ago, ask to people what is sake. They don't get any idea.
I have to lie and say, no, it's Japanese wine. Can you try?
Do you think, or did you see already some sake that are not using anymore Junmai, Daiginjo term on their label? They are Junmai maybe, but not using that, getting far away from that, or
no, but I see
not much.
Not much, but for instance, they have to put something, because this is something really Japanese. And it was very interesting because during the pandemic, I was asked to help an association that they are trying to create an application like Mivino, to take a photo to the label.
Yeah.
A great idea, because when you get this kind of just in Japanese,
Yeah.
you don't. So
Impossible.
So we were trying to do this with artificial intelligence, and we found out that there is not Japanese, sometimes they are very how can I say, they have a mental order in the way they do things. But we found out that in the sake world and how they name the labels, the type of sake and all that, is a completely mess. Sometimes they put the brand at the end. Sometimes they put the commercial name of the sake in the middle. You cannot really pick up things easily. So it was a discovery for me and for everyone, because it was like, wow. And in the name of the typical Junmai Daiginjo Kimoto, for instance, we were finding an extra vocabulary, because some breweries, they were putting an extra adjective to the sake. Let's say it was from the mountain of the area, the water, so they put a specific name, so it was a completely mess. And I think somehow you need to have a classification, and especially to know what you are going to drink. But I think it would be easier if they give you like a tip on, this is a sake that you should drink cold, and it should taste like that, and blah blah, instead of having all that. But
it's funny because some back label, I will say, and some label of Japanese sake have so much information. Sometimes it's great.
Yeah.
When it's well done, there's so much great information about the acidity level, the umami level, the alcohol level, the temperature of service, and all of that is well done. But I never thought about this, especially front label in Japanese, that is completely done in on another mental order. Because and this I'm not surprised, because we do a lot of translation from English or from French, and they translate for us at Tanaka in Japanese, and it's always complicated because they don't see life the same way of us. It's a little. I always give the example. Language is linked to culture, and in English it's rainbow, so they see the rain, and Spanish is arco iris, is linked to iris, to the eyes, and French is arc-en-ciel, they see an arc en el cielo, and Catalan is Arc de Saint-Martin, is Catholicism, so it's culture, way of seeing life. You express with your language. So, and Japanese is completely another culture, another civilization. So I'm not surprised, but it's quite interesting, this fact. That's why also, that's not the first reason, but why the abroad market so difficult for sake over years, because when you get a label like you just show the beer bottle, it's in Japanese, so it's difficult for us to understand what we will buy. It's like German wine and the 80s. For me, I'm a big fan of German wine, but it was so difficult to understand the label. Today it's okay, they have adapted the label to the market, so now you understand without losing their soul, even on the label you can keep your culture. So I think the Japanese sake label have evolved over the last 10 years, especially over the last 5 years. There's still space for evolving and reorganization, or maybe a better organization, or always following the regulation. But
No, and also I think something like the actual label, I've seen in the recent years, so also a trend to make some funny labels, not only the typical kanji and all that. I think There's even the I don't know if you know one cult sake called Taxi Driver, and there is the photo of the so
But I
But they
was
are very
talking.
fun. You go
Yes,
ahead,
I
Nicola.
was talking in Switzerland with the importer, and he was talking to me like this. So yeah, you need to change your label, and usually painting or drawing, that's the best way. You don't remember the name, but oh, the one with the turtle on it, or the
Yeah.
one with the dog face, or even in our case, we choose to write it in normal character. We're gonna say in European. So that's way easier also to remember.
But this is another decision, because now there's a here talking about mass market or luxury market is quite different, or 1% market of very specialized rare product. They don't need the turtle on the label. But when you are selling 1 million cases of wine at $10 or at $2, you need to attract people, and that's the way to go. Same thing with sake. So I don't think high-end sake. I'm talking about high-end, not only our sake, all the sake. I don't think the consumer will need a turtle or whatsoever to understand that. But for the mass market, this is very important to be attracted by the label, and you don't need much information. You just need to know that it's good, the price is good, and it's very easy to recognize the label, to find the sake you love on the market. So, but this could be a subject on another masterclass, and talk only about label, because it's very passionate.
No. And,
so here we are it's nearly done, because we really try to get 45 minutes for reason. François loves to talk, Pablo also. So you can ask the people to Madrid Fusion. I think they understand, like, both together it could be a long masterclass. I remember to see like the organization of Madrid Fusion during the masterclass coming to say, cut, they're still talking.
No.
And there's so much thing to say.
Yeah. No, and just to end up, one of the problems I see now is the transportation. The costs are crazy, really, and I think this is an extra problem, because now that we want to start importing sake and all that, and help the producers, the cost of importing sake now is so expensive. So I think this is something that I hope they can fix somehow, because at the end of the day, I think it's the big companies, they want to get the money back from these COVID years.
Exactly.
Not a good way.
No, it's very problematic. The maritime transport around the world and flight is completely crazy over the last year. The price went up, but multiply by 10. Sometimes it's completely crazy. That's make me think that we have done a great thing by bringing 5,000 bottles of our sake in a warehouse in Madrid with you. So now we have sake to push in Spain, Portugal, and all the European country. That will be easier for the time we will have that. We will cross finger that the price of the shipping will go lower. So let's pray for that. So thank you so much, Pablo. Hope we have another masterclass one day, maybe in fall season, and tasting all together, different kind of sake. Just talking about that will be great. Even blind will be interesting, not to find, but to talk. Just let it go and talk about how we feel, how we have the sensation of what we are drinking in the glass, without being overshadowed by the label or by the prestige or not of the label. This is quite interesting, huh?
Somebody asking in Denmark if we're gonna have so we have to.
Let's go.
We have to. So Goran, I know we are in touch in some social media. If you got some contact, importer or whatever, now you know Pablo, and we can manage it, of course.
Great.
For now, we don't get importer, but if you get any idea, any clue, please, it would be a pleasure.
Thank you so much, everyone, especially Pablo and Nicola. Keep warm. It's very cold in Madrid, so come in Barcelona. It's very warm, and hope to see you soon, Pablo.
Hope to see you. Bye-bye. Thank you.